Forget what you know about pizza. Chicago thin crust pizza breaks every single rule.
Once you pop them, you can't stop.
As a New Yorker, my favorite type of pizza might surprise you. Put a margarita pizza, a New York slice, a Sicilian, and a Chicago thin crust pizza in front of me, I'm grabbing the squares every time. Now, the real pizza of Chicago, the thin crust, is defined by a cracker-like crust. And after some time in Chicago, studying this style of pizza with my friends, I've discovered the secret to achieving that cracker-like crisp, and today I'm gonna share that with you. This is my Chicago-style pepperoni cherry pepper thin crust. And it obviously starts with pizza dough. Now, my research is largely sourced from two Chicago natives and pizza snobs, Adam Witt and Tony Scardino from Professor Pizza. And Adam has a more traditional style crust, so with his blessing, we're gonna be using that crust today. I'll leave a link to Adam's channel. Go show him some love. So we've got bread flour here. You could use all-purpose, but you kind of get a slightly different texture. I like the texture we get with bread flour, and we're gonna need 725 grams of it. Then one of the more iconic parts of this dough, we're gonna use 25 grams of cornmeal. We're also gonna be using this on the pizza peel. They're almost like ball bearings, right? Help slide the pizza off the peel. We're gonna need 370 grams of water, around 90 degrees. And to that water, 60 grams of olive oil. Then in a separate bowl, we're gonna take instant yeast. We need 4 grams of that. And instant yeast is nice. We don't need to bloom it. We can just add it right in, and it's gonna work great. Remove that, add another little bowl, and then 10 grams of salt, and then 10 grams of sugar. Okay, everything's measured out. Now you could use a bowl to make this, a KitchenAid, or it's easy as throwing it on a food processor. Just gonna give the two flours a little mix, and we're gonna get that in there. Let it go and then stream in the liquids. You just wanna run it until a ball starts to run around the blade. So now that ball's come together, right? Now what we're gonna do is let this rest for 20 minutes, come back, and then we're gonna add in the yeast. Our 20 minutes is up. Look how much stretchier it already is. It's not that tacky. We kind of want it on the drier side too. So what I'm gonna do, pour in the yeast, and then we're gonna let it go for another 30 seconds. Did I really just break it? Oh, man. Never happens during the test, right? Always when I shoot. All right, we resort to hand now. I'm gonna work that yeast in a little bit more. Now, if it's in the KitchenAid or if it's still in the food processor, that still works. Leave it in there, let it rest another 30 minutes. All right, now, so we're gonna open it up. I'm gonna take the sugar and the salt. I'm gonna add it in. Then I'm gonna just start to knead it in the bowl. Try and suck up all that salt. And I can take it out of the bowl. We're just gonna do some final kneading, work that sugar and salt in there. If you still had it in the food processor, you would just be letting it go. So at this point, the dough shouldn't really be sticky at all, almost on the drier side. And now all that salt and sugar is absorbed. I kneaded it for about 3-5 minutes, and now I'm just shaping it until we get a ball. You can almost see the little flecks of cornmeal in there. Nicely incorporated. That adds some nice flavor to the dough. So now what I wanna do is portion it in half. Should be about 2 600-gram pieces, and then cut those in half. Now you just want to take them, fold it in, pinch the bottoms, pull it in, and start to pinch the bottom with the edges of your hand. So we got a nicely shaped ball, sealed up at the bottom. Set that off to the side, repeat with the rest. Now we've got 4 Pyrex bowls. I'm gonna go in and each one just add like a little teaspoon of olive oil. I'm gonna go in, coat the thing with olive oil. Now from here, we cover them, and we have options. You could go ahead, leave these out, let these rise, let them double in size, and cook them later. One of the things Tony Scardino does is the trick that we're going to show you, he would do, he just doesn't have the space to do it. So the option he goes for is par baking the dough, which if you wanted to cook this later, you'd roll it out thin, par bake it, then start to add your toppings, and you can get it nice and crisp. However, we're going to let these ferment in the fridge. Now you could do this for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. You could do it for 4 days and it gets even better. Kind of the longer this goes, the more flavor and easier to work with. But I've just let this go overnight and the results are great. So into the fridge these go, and we'll catch back in a day or two. So now it's 2 days later. When I tested this, I made 4 doughs and tested it at each day. And I can't confirm the more days you wait, the better the dough just becomes. Now here's the real secret. We're not making this pizza today. We're going to take it out of the fridge, take them all out, whatever you want to do. We're gonna let it come up to temperature, take that chill off, make it a little easier to work, and then we're gonna roll it out today, put it in the fridge overnight. This is a process known as curing the dough. That drying out is the secret to why this gets crisp. Even with all the ingredients on top, all of the fat, that crust stays crisp yet tender. It's an incredible thing. So it's been about an hour, it should be ready to roll out. We're gonna use some flour on the board, and then we're gonna bang that dough onto the board, flour on top, and then just start to press it out. Nice round circle, try and get that flour everywhere, and then what I'm gonna do is just go around, start to even it out. We want a really uniform thinness. So with this hand, I'm squashing, and with this hand, I'm just pressing the edges. I'm just trying to get it nice and even. Then onto the board, and with our rolling pin, just like we do with pasta, we're gonna roll out, turn. We're gonna start in the middle of the dough and roll out, turn. That's gonna help us get a nice, even, circular shape. Once it's out, you can sort of put it in place and then maneuver your body around. Now you can make it just like that. But if you remember in our Pizza Professor episode, Tony trimmed the edges. We're gonna do the same. I'm just gonna use that pizza tray as a guide. And what this is gonna do, as you'll see, not only make sure it's the same shape as what we're gonna serve it on, but it creates this open edge, right? Which sort of makes it more resilient to burning, but also makes it nice and crisp because you've got this nice exposed edge. Next up, we're gonna take our pizza tray. We're gonna put some parchment on it. Next up, we need to dock it. Now there's a rolling pin that has little points on it that'll dock it, but at home we can just take a fork and go around the dough. Just go all the way around. Just gonna make sure it doesn't puff up anything crazy when we bake it. Now we're gonna take this, place the docked side down, then I'm just gonna place a piece of parchment just like that, and that's it. I'm gonna leave it like this and throw it in the refrigerator. Now remember, this is a 2-day dough. I recommend you making the 4 doughs and trying it one every day so you can understand how the flavor and the texture varies and which one you want to do going forward so you can prepare whenever you want to make this the amount of days you need ahead. So into the fridge until tomorrow. Now here we are, this is day 4. We're ready to kind of prep the rest of the ingredients. Now here, for the tomato sauce, we're making a basic tomato sauce, but we are going to cook it, which isn't something you often see on a pizza. We're using my favorite tomatoes of all time. You've seen me use them for years, but you've never seen me use crushed tomatoes. But in this recipe, it's actually the perfect consistency, and once we cook them for a bit in some garlic, some olive oil, and some basil, it's really gonna be a perfect tomato sauce for this pizza. Best of all, we just have to open up the can. We don't have to run them through a food mill. Then instead of slicing, I'm gonna take some garlic cloves, I'm just gonna smash them and infuse the olive oil with that flavor. You can slice them up. To be honest, I'm just being lazy. A little bit of basil, and we're ready to make sauce. Now over on the stove, I've got my saucier. I'm gonna cover the bottom with some olive oil. I've got the heat on about medium high, and I'm gonna go ahead and toss in those garlic cloves and the basil. Season them with some salt, and what we wanna do is sort of infuse that basil flavor and that garlic into the oil. And we're looking for that garlic to start to develop a nice golden brown on the exterior. That's gonna just develop a more complicated garlic flavor, and it's telling me that the garlic is giving off all of its flavor into the oil. And once that garlic is brown, we're gonna remove that basil, and then we're gonna go ahead and add in our crushed tomatoes. You wanna turn the heat off, otherwise you're gonna get a big reaction out of the tomato in the oil once it hits the pan. Then we're gonna hit it with some salt. We're gonna bring it up to a simmer, and we're just gonna allow it to cook for about 20 or 30 minutes, just so it's nice and thick and all those flavors have developed. We want a thicker sauce on this type of pizza so the toppings hold and don't sort of slide outwards. We're gonna be making a ranch, which might offend somebody, but I kinda like ranch on pizza. I don't put it on every pizza, but a pizza like this, a pizza that breaks all the rules, I'm gonna do it. And it starts with 2 ingredients. Predominantly, I like to use sour cream. I really appreciate these new packages. Now the thing with ranch is that oftentimes it can come out a little too thin. Topping a pizza with a ranch, you don't want it too thin, and you want it to hold. Next we go in with some mayo, roughly equal amounts, and So now usually I would add buttermilk, sort of cream it all out. But you see how thick that is? I kind of want it super thick like that because I'm gonna make a cherry pepper ranch. And I'm about to add liquids into here. So instead of buttermilk, I'm gonna kind of use the liquid from the cherry pepper juice. I'm just gonna toss some of these in and just a little bit of that liquid. Then just a little bit of lemon zest. Next up, some classics, some dried parsley, and then some dried dill. And then another two ingredients I find to be core. Not garlic and onion powder, but dehydrated onion and dehydrated garlic. We'll go in just with like a pinch. Once we blend it all up, they'll hydrate again. Same thing with the onion. Then a little touch of MSG. You don't have to add it. Some salt and some fresh cracked black pepper. Pop it on. A little stuck on the side. Let me just give it a little mix. See how it's nice and thick? What we're gonna do, just to help us present it at the end, is put it in a squeeze bottle. Set that in the fridge. Back to the cherry peppers. Now in Chicago, they serve it, you know, sausage, pepperoni, jardiniere. That's like one of the classic combinations. Jardiniere is just like a spicy kind of pickle condiment. In New York, we're gonna use cherry peppers. We get some nice red ones in there. I like the color of the red, pops on the pizza. But some green ones in there too, because the pepperoni we're gonna be using is red. So just get a bunch of colors in there. And sort of just like jardiniere, we're gonna just roughly chop them just so they disperse on top of the pizza really evenly. Just a real rough chop. Next up, of course, is our cheese. Low moisture mozzarella is the game, and not all of them are created equal. And I've tried a bunch. I've determined my favorite, especially for making pizzas, really, and it's this brand. It can be found at Whole Foods. It's quality, it's gonna work great. It's not gonna get all split. It's gonna be nice. And the combination of whole milk mozzarella and part skim, you'll notice the part skim is a little firmer, like string cheese is. The whole milk is a little bit more butterier and softer, and the combination of the two is gonna get that nice meltiness, that creaminess in the cheese that you want in a pizza. So we need to grate them. It's about a half pound of cheese per pizza, so just grate accordingly. When I grate a cheese like this, I like to use some parchment and just grate it right on there. The whole milk first, it's a little softer. Sometimes it's harder to get all the way. I'm just gonna kind of keep it nice and chilled and grate it immediately. And then the skim. It's a lot easier to grate. It doesn't like kind of fall apart as much. Give it a little mix. Then the parchment makes it really easy to just transfer into a bowl. And then pepperoni is mighty important. And if you're looking for a good one that I really like, surprisingly, is Whole Foods brand 365. It's a surprisingly good pepperoni. Right size, no skin on the outside. They don't cup as much as cup and char, but I like them. Now our sauce, just after prepping everything, looks very nice. Just gonna pull out the garlic that I see. And before we make a pizza with it, we need to cool it down. Now you see how that sauce is nice and thick? So we're gonna allow this to chill in the fridge until it's room temperature. So now I'm gonna start preheating my oven. I'm gonna set it to 500 degrees. And for this, we're gonna need a pizza stone or a pizza steel like I have. Usually I have the pizza steel on the bottom rack, but we're gonna move it up to the top. We're gonna allow the oven to get to its preheated 500 degrees. And once it's preheated, we're gonna give the pizza steel an hour to heat up, hold on to its heat. It's gonna give us the best result. So now our oven is preheated, and here's our dough, dried out. This is an insane trick you would never think of unless a Chicago guy tells you. But that is almost going to ensure perfection. So now, we can throw it together. Now, before we get the pizza onto the peel to start working, we're gonna take some more of that cornmeal. Remember, like those ball bearings? Just gonna slide it right on and also give it this texture, this little crunch on the bottom of the crust that is iconic on this pizza. A little Midwestern touch. Now we can take our parchment, and as you can see, we have this sort of not as dried out section on the other side, and that's where we wanna build the pizza. Underneath, should roll around easily. Now my measuring spoon for pizza like this is this big spoon right here. And what I'm gonna do is 1.5. That's probably 1/3 of a cup. And then we're just gonna go around, and in Chicago crust, we take it all the way to the edge. You see how nice and thick the sauce is? That's what we want. Just get gentle when you get close to the edge. I kinda like to splatter it into the dough, because there's a little bit of thick edge around there. And this is all about balance, right? The right amount of sauce the right amount of cheese. If you want, just dot it in a few places, even it out. You don't want this pizza dry. On top of that, pecorino romano, right onto the tomatoes. For me, what I found, anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces of cheese is the right amount on top. That's a good enough amount of cheese for me. You could add a little bit more if you want, but I think that's gonna be perfect. Next, the pepperoni, and this is a key part. We want a really beautiful pizza at the end, so we're going to put this pepperoni on a very specific way. I'm gonna start in the center, and I'm gonna closely nestle them together, keep them nice and tight. On top of that, cherry peppers. The pizza should look good before it even goes in the oven. Even pepperoni distribution, even cherry pepper distribution, balanced amount of cheese and balanced amount of sauce. Now we're just gonna slide this onto the pizza stone, cook this for around 10 to 12 minutes, depending on the color that we're getting and how melty and beautiful it all looks on top. And because that cornmeal and because we dried that crust out, it's right off the peel, right onto the steel. It's nice to have one of these little pizza rounds. When it comes out, I'm gonna rest it on a wire rack with that steam under escape. About halfway through, we're gonna check the pizza, start to rotate it. Make sure it browns nice and evenly. It's a high likelihood it's gonna be smoky because of the cheese hitting the steel. That's sort of expected. And what I'm looking for in the pizza is that edge of the dough to be nice and golden brown and darkening up nicely. When I pick the pizza up, it's nice and stiff and crisp, and the cheese is bubbling and browning around the edges of the crust. Crisp little edges, that's what you're looking for. Now, my favorite part, the secret, the party cut, the square cut. First, down the middle. Now you go split that half, and then the other half. Turn everything, same deal. And then we hit it with the ranch. Now, if you know anything about Chicago pizza, you know that this is the best piece. Notice how it's thin, but it's light. There's an air pocket in there. That's from fermentation. The dough's got flavor. It's not just a cracker. And the bottom is extremely crisp. Man, I told myself I wasn't gonna eat another pizza. I've eaten 4 in the last 4 days. I've got 4 more doughs in the refrigerator. I said it before, I'll say it again. Once you pop them, you can't stop. And now the test. The middle piece, super crispy. That's how you know you did it right. You want the recipe? The link's gonna be down in the description. You wanna join my new cooking school over on Patreon, community of home cooks I've started. The link to that's gonna be down below. We do 2 new lessons, new videos a month, 1 live stream. I give you guys homework, we review it. You got access to me. Anyway, this is bad news for me. I'm gonna go take care of it. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.